Good morning. I'm going to figure out who's echoing and mute them. 1 second. I think we're good. Good morning, everyone. You are at a Forever Forward presented by Entrepreneurs Forever. This is a program that we put together on some fundamental building blocks of having a great small business. And this month, I think we really found something that resonates with a lot of people. We have great registration. In fact, we have so many people, we might not be able to do the introductions we sometimes do. But let me introduce myself. I'm Deborah Gallant. I'm the Senior Program Manager at Entrepreneurs Forever. And my partner in crime today is...
Angela Mena. I'm the marketing director here at Entrepreneurs Forever.
Okay, so let's get rolling, and hopefully we'll have a chance to get some engagement and hear from some of you as we get going. So we'll do some introductions, and actually what I'm going to encourage you to do, if you can, is in the chat function, because we have so many people joining us, if you can just tell us what your name is. Well, your name is already there, but what your business is. So Angela and I will have sort of our arms around what kind of businesses we're talking to. I'm going to mention our upcoming programs, and I do that now because I have found universally, if I wait till the end, I forget to do it. Then we're going to get into the presentation, some sharing, and if you can hang out and you want to, we will try to do some breakouts at the end. So as I said, we're going to put that stuff in the chat. So I'm seeing some people doing that, and thank you for that. And you can read who else is on the call. We have Tammy and Tabitha from TNT. Mike is a public speaking coach. We have a spa. We have all kinds of different businesses, and we welcome you. We have a lot of content here. So as I said, because of that, and because there's so many of you, 23 right now, we are actually not going to take time to do the introduction. So Angela, moving on. Many of you know who Entrepreneurs Forever is. You're regulars with us, but in case anyone is joining us for the first time, Entrepreneurs Forever is a nonprofit organization empowering small business owners to grow thriving businesses, to sustain their families, and support their communities. We do that mainly through peer groups that meet monthly, but we also have these special education programs, web resources, other special events. So if you have not heard of us before, welcome. If you are not a member and you're interested in becoming a member, we encourage you to attend one of our weekly discovery sessions. That link there will sign you up and give you a choice of dates and times that we offer them. It's a terrific program, and we encourage you to check it out if it's something you're interested in. Our members are wonderful, as evidenced by the many of you who are here today. So as I mentioned, if I don't talk about these next programs, I forget. So next month's Forever Forward, Friday, July 12th at 8:30 in the morning, I'll be joined by my colleague, Doogie Levine, and we're going to talk about CRM systems. That's Customer Relationship Management. And this is one of those buzzwords, and you hear about HubSpot and Salesforce, and you think, do I need that? Well, that's why we put this together, so that you can understand what a CRM system is and if it makes sense for you or not, and some best practices around picking one, buying one, implementing one. So CRMs, Customer Relationship Management, that's next month on July 12th. And this month, we're doing one that I'm really excited about. It's a deep dive on hiring your first employee. And I know many of you are solo entrepreneurs, many of you solo by choice. But if you have thought about expanding your business by hiring, we understand how very daunting that is. So we have put together a webinar with an HR expert who is going to help us understand what's involved both mentally and logistically in bringing in your first employee, in terms of regulations and payroll and taxes and reporting and employee handbooks and all the rest. So We're always looking for new ideas. And in fact, I know that some of you who are on here with me today were also at our speed networking, which was last week, and gave me some other really terrific ideas for upcoming programs. So check us out at entrepreneursforever.org/events, always in the market for finding interesting topics to bring to you. So today's topic is content creation, and the main presenter is going to be Angela, who's right now driving the deck and is silent, but she has so much information. She directs all of the marketing efforts here at Entrepreneurs Forever and is a professional marketer. I'm so glad that she's partnering with me, and we've been tweaking this deck back and forth between us so that we have something that we think will be some real value for you, as well as a handout, which I'll drop in the chat in a moment. And me, you know, I'm the senior program manager at Entrepreneurs Forever. We always do the disclaimer: this presentation does not take the place of professional advice from your own paid advisors. There are many, many people who could help you with this stuff. One of the reasons we put these programs together is because sometimes it's hard to know if you're getting unbiased advice and a point of view from someone who's not trying to sell you anything. We are not selling you anything other than we'd love it if you wanted to join one of our groups and you're not in it. We're not selling you social media advice, and sometimes it's very hard to separate the advice you're getting from an advisor from what it is they're trying to sell you. We're not trying to sell you anything, but if you want that, please do hire someone to help you implement. So I put in a couple slides this time to just remind you sort of how we got to this topic, because there's a little bit of a progression here in the presentations that we've been doing. We helped you identify your ideal client and understand what their pain and purchase process is. We helped you think about how clients are finding you and ensuring that your message resonates with them. All of those things are sort of fundamental to be able to create content that then brings those people in and makes them build a relationship and hopefully purchase from you. So I just sort of wanted to bring that back to remind you how we got to this topic. I think most of you are well on your way to figuring all this stuff out, and we'll review it a little bit in our worksheet as well. So the idea in marketing is this marketing funnel that you need multiple marketing touches. And I think that's where content comes in here in 2024, in that you have the opportunity to put out different elements of content. We'll talk about what those content elements might be, and they could be different for different businesses. In fact, I'm sure they are. But you need to do those because you have to get people through that know, like, and trust funnel before they try. And Angela will talk a little bit about this. And at Entrepreneurs Forever, this is difficult for us in our markets where we're trying to get known. No one's going to sign up for a peer group if they've never heard of you, because they need to know you, like you, and trust you before they sign up. But then once they do, hopefully they buy, they join, they refer, and they return. And here, a great example here is on this call is our friends at T&T Administrative Services became members, and then they hosted an event to help us bring in more members. So they got down into that purple area of referring and returning into the program. So that's what your content is trying to do, is to get people into and become loyal and repeat customers. And today we're going to focus on creating that compelling content that drives business for you, whatever it is. So I think, Angela, this is probably a good time for me to hand it over to you. I'm going to attach the handout, the content creation strategy, in the chat. And I think at this point, the floor is yours, but of course, I'll still be here.
Thank you, Deborah. And thanks, everyone. If you have any questions while I'm presenting, please put them in the chat and we'll get to them. So content, where do we start? There's many steps to creating content, but the first step is to ask yourself, what are you trying to accomplish? Now, many times we say, of course, everyone wants sales, but to what we just showed in the previous slide, there are different stages, right? So maybe you have a lot of people that are connected to you already, but they're not buying. So maybe what you're trying to accomplish with the content is to create a sale. Maybe what you want is just reach a broader audience because you're starting at the beginning of the funnel, right? You want to build awareness. So maybe that is your goal. So the first step is for you to think about, what do you want to do with this content? Is it selling a specific product? Is it getting a broader following? So think about what you really want. And one of the best practices is to understand that one content won't work for everything, right? The more granular you get and the more strategic and focused you are on an accomplishment for the content, the better chances to be successful you will have. So the second step, or the way I like to think about content whenever I'm creating, is what type of content am I creating and what kind? So there's many different categories of content, but I think the easiest way of where to start is to think of it in two ways. One is evergreen content, and this is content that will be relevant today or in 6 months. Let's say someone visits your website in 9 months from now, whatever they read, it's still relevant to your business and they can take action. The other type of content is seasonal. This is content that is relevant to a specific time or date, and it's time sensitive. So for example, seasonal content would be a sale, right, during one of the holidays. It could be something for Valentine's Day. This content's going to be relevant just for that small time frame. So first think what you're trying to accomplish with the content, and then think about it. Is this a seasonal action, or is this like an evergreen action that will be relevant now or in a few months? The other concept that I want to bring to the table is what is called top of mind. Now, those that are familiar with marketing have heard this term before. So top of mind refers to the brand or product that first comes to one's mind. So how do you find out who has top of mind in your brain? If I ask you right now, oh, I would like to eat some Italian food, where should I go? Automatically, the restaurant you thought about is the restaurant that has top of mind. But if you really look into it, it's probably not the closest restaurant to you. It might be a restaurant that's located even far away from you, but you're really fond of it. And that was the first restaurant that you thought about. That is top of mind. The same thing happens with everything. If you want to have a coffee, maybe there's a coffee shop around the corner, but you've never been there, so you won't think of it. So that is top of mind. Now with content, there's another interesting term that comes in, and that is top of find. So top of find refers to your content being among the first results that users see when they are searching for something specific or when they are browsing digitally or in person. So in content, it's very important for you to think, obviously you want to build top of mind. You want people to think of you when they're looking for a specific service or product. But top of find is when someone comes across with you without them specifically looking for you or specifically looking for your product. So top of mind happens whenever you're browsing social media. I don't know, you're about to go to sleep and you're just browsing and suddenly you see a delicious video of a local bakery that you had never heard from, and you just stay watching that video, and then you're like, oh my God, this looks so good. I'm going to follow them and I'm going to go this weekend and try it out. That is top of find. You were browsing just to kill time, or, just, I don't know, relax before bed. But there you are, you found a bakery. You weren't specifically looking for that bakery, but the bakery found you. And that's what top of find is. Top of find can be built in multiple ways. These are a few channels, for example. So you could build top of find by having public relations, right? Somebody grabs a magazine or opens the local news medium, and they read about you. It can be advertising, right? It could be email marketing. It could be networking. You're at an event and you have a table at an event, and then suddenly somebody sees you. It can be social media. It could be through the web. And you have possible clients and possible opportunities to building top of find in all of these channels and many, many more. One of the best ways to build top of find is to really know your audience. So what I would suggest is to analyze your current customers, right? Think who they are and try to really build a person in your brain, right? Then also analyze who's your target audience, because sometimes you have customers and you've nailed that audience already, but you're looking to attract maybe a younger audience or maybe an audience in another geographical territory, right? So ask yourself, who's your target audience? And then create personas. It's so important for you to think of them as a person, because that is how you build top of mind. Because once you've built a person, you ask yourself, where would this person shop? Where would they buy groceries? Where would they spend their time? What shows do they watch? Where do they eat? What kind of music do they listen to? Who do they follow? Who do they trust? And by you answering these questions, you're going to be able to identify opportunities of where you can build top of mind. Now,
Angela, but before
yes.
you move on, let me just remind my audience, because I know we have some people who are regulars that come to our different programs. We did a whole webinar on your ideal client. We talked about naming them and finding a picture of them and giving them, if you missed that or you need to review it, I'll send the link in the follow-up so you can review it and review that worksheet. Because honestly, until you know who you want in your client role or who in your store or walking into your salon or hiring you, you can't do the rest of this. It's just sending messages out to the universe that will not be received or heard by anyone. So that part is so fundamental that I really encourage you, if you haven't figured that out or if you feel like you need to review it, I'll send the link. Ideal client is critical. So go on, sorry.
No, all good, all good. So this is an example of something that happened to me with Top of Mind, right? So this is a local bakery very close to where I live. And they did this fantastic thing where they took advantage. This is an example of a seasonal content. They took advantage of Taylor Swift launching her new album, and they created Taylor Swift cookies that were only available for I think the first several weeks where the album came out. So they took advantage of the top of mind that Taylor Swift was launching the album, and they just did it. And they caught an audience of all the Swifties, right? All the younger audience that likes Taylor Swift. And you know what? Were people Googling Taylor Swift cookies? Maybe, but these cookies found me. And when I saw them, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I'm gonna go get them. So that is top of mind. And they did the same thing with Bridgerton. I don't know if there are many Bridgerton watchers here, but
I admit it, I
entirely.
watch it. Are there trademark issues taking those things?
It could be. A lot of times it's just promoting something that is so big that, you just,
It's in the public domain.
in some way, yeah. Like, for example, when Taylor Swift came over to Pittsburgh, there were so many restaurants that had special Taylor Swift's dishes and themed topics. So this is a good example for you to take advantage of knowing your audience, for example, and knowing what kind of music do they listen to, right? What's their persona? And being aware of what's happening in the environment and just jumping on that train, right? And like I said, this is evergreen, and this would be seasonal, not evergreen content, right? Because in 2 years, Lady Whistledown is going to be done, or maybe not, but it won't be relevant. Okay. The top following steps is to understand which channels will reach your ideal clients. And I understand it can be extremely overwhelming because there's a million channels. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, blog, Pinterest. There's so much. You don't have to do everything. That's why knowing your audience is so important. Really try to think, where are they? Where are they? What channels do they use? And pick the top two or even the top one. It's all going to depend on the possibilities of content generation and how much you can do, but don't try to stretch yourself too much. My advice would be focus on one or two and start doing them really well, and then continue building onto additional channels.
Angela, how can you make sure that you're on the right? I'm going to just give you an example. Like
Yeah.
my daughter who's in her 20s would like, Mom, my generation doesn't do Facebook anymore. Like that's not a
Yeah.
thing. So, but if I wanted to talk to a 27-year-old, I should, I don't know. How do I figure out where she is? Are there statistics information so I can make sure that I'm going to the right place?
Yeah, you can find a lot of statistics online of where they are. One good practice is also looking into trends per generation. So for example, your daughter would be a millennial. So she would go in between Instagram and TikTok. That's where it'd be. If you want to reach a younger audience, chances you're going to find them only on TikTok. So it depends on who your persona is and find it, right? For example, if you have a really specific niche audience, Reddit is a great channel for you to build content and just get out there. YouTube as well. YouTube has a million micro audiences channels, as we're going to see in one of the examples I have further in the deck. But it's really trying to figure out where they are. And also, I know the world is very digital now, but there are opportunities for you to build top of mind by having physical presence as well. So for example, let's say your one of your customers or your personas would shop at this local, I don't know, this local store, right? You could look into opportunities for you to bring your brand there so that you can have top of mind. They might go to that store because that's
Yeah,
the
no, and
and they will find you
when
there.
we did our thing on how do you find your ideal clients, one of my examples that I give, because this still works. If you are a local pharmacy or a local insurance agency, it might still make sense. It sounds crazy to sponsor a little league team and have all those little kids running around town saying Jones Insurance Agency, because that's being seen as being a good neighbor and building community. That's not what we're here to talk about today, but don't discount that those things can still work in a digital world, but that's not really about creating content. That's about figuring out where your audience is and influencing them appropriately.
Correct. Some of the best practices when creating content is to be authentic and true to you and your brand. There's so much out there, but there's only one you. So make yourself really stand out and be unique. And the only way to do that is to be authentic. You can find inspiration from others, but really try to go back to your core personality and who your brand is. A lot of times we think that to be successful at social media, we have to show our face all the time. If we're extremely uncomfortable doing that, don't do it, because that is not being authentic to you. If you don't like your face being shown, you could show your hands. There's like multiple successful channels across the internet of people who never show their faces and they have millions of followers. So be authentic to you. If you feel pressure that you have to show yourself and you have to be constantly on camera and it's not flowing for you, don't keep doing it. Find different options. Really be authentic. The second one is to tell stories. We all love a good story. So try to tell stories about your brand, behind the scenes stories. We're going to see an example later on. Really find stories, and there's other exercises that I'm going to suggest later to do storytelling. And be engaging and relevant to your ideal clients. Now, going back to the exercise, know your audience, build your personas, and be relevant to them. Now, I would like you to think about these three key questions. What area of expertise is authentic to you and relevant to your ideal clients? Second question is, what kind of content can you produce? How often, and what mix of different types? Now, there's different types of content, right? There's written content, there's video content, there's photo content. There multiple different ways that you could create content. It could be audio also. It could be just recording your voice. So think about that. And then the third one, what platforms will you use to distribute your content? So based on your capacity of creating content, that can help you also determine which channels you can take over. Now let's look at some examples. I'm going to show you 3 examples. And as we're going through them, think to yourself, what are they doing well and what are they trying to accomplish with this content? So I'm going to show you, this is actually one of our members, Laura from Warm Return, and she had a very successful Instagram reel that got over 100,000 plays. So let me show it to you. It has no audio, but this is an example of a type of video that gives you like a behind the scenes perspective. A lot of times many people might not understand composting and on how organizations can partner to do that. So here they're showing you the different steps and stages of how composting happens between worm return and a juice store.
I feel like I can smell it from here.
I know, right? One of the good things also about content is that don't think that your content has to be perfect. If it's authentic, it will perform very well. You don't need to necessarily buy the most expensive camera, hire a videographer. If you have the resources, if you can do something more professional, awesome. But you can start with your cell phone. The important part is to start somewhere. And now with technology, it's easier to create better content. There are microphones on YouTube that are not that expensive.
So I'm going to ask a silly question. Assuming that they shot those little mini videos and then edited them together, those are all shot probably on an iPhone.
Yeah.
It is an iMovie that comes on your Mac. Is that what you use to edit it?
iMovie you can use to edit. You can use Canva. You can use, there's another tool called Adobe Express. There are multiple apps, really. Like there's endless. I mean, you could even do it on your phone without iMovie as well. There's a bunch of tutorials. And if you're interested, also let us know and we can put together
Shannon's saying that there's an AI editor too that can do it.
Yeah, it's
Wow,
really like there's endless tools to put together videos. Now let me go to the next slide. This is another example of a business called Bottomless Bricks. And what they're doing is they partner with someone there. So this is a very niche audience, right? These are people that love Legos, that love building. And they partner with someone who has a trusted following, 1.4 million subscribers on YouTube. And they did this video. I'm gonna lower it. They did this video that is almost a half hour just talking about bricks and Legos and building structures. So only really fans of Legos and bricks would stay to watch a 23-minute video on Legos. But you know what? There is an audience for this, and this person is going to them. It's going to those 1.4 million people who are going to subscribe to a channel that does half-hour videos on Legos. So the people are out there. You just need to
Good job, Erin. She's on the call.
Oh, you are there? Hi. Good job. Now, the third person or third organization I want to show is Campground Views. So they do videos of or virtual tours of campgrounds across the US. And something I do want to highlight is don't pay attention to the amount of likes you're getting. Look, when you start, look at reach. The first thing is reaching as many people, and then you go into engagement, which is people interacting with your content. So this is an example
Check out this
of a
campground
TikTok
virtual
video
tour of Clear Lake State Park in Clear Lake, California. This is California's largest
where
freshwater
they're just
lake,
doing
and
a
this very
virtual
large
tour of the
is quite popular.
campground,
There's some
and it's
unique
a
areas
different
here,
type of
plenty
content.
loops.
It's worth mentioning that as social media starts migrating to something more visual, video is very, very important. So I would encourage you to start trying to do video. It might not be the best at the beginning, but just nobody's born knowing how to do a video. The more you do it, the more you're going to be getting better at it. It's like a muscle.
And I want to explain to people that Campground Views business, because these are people I know, is offering these 360 videos of campgrounds so that you can book and see where you're booking. And they are the only ones who do that. There are other people who put up still photos and call them views, but it's not the same. So by showing what the 360 video is, they're literally building trust with their audience and demonstrating their product in a way that they don't have to get them to their website. They're just dropping it in TikTok to show them.
And for those who like to camp, we've all been there. I personally like to camp in a hammock, and it's always like, are they going to have trees where we can hang our hammock? And this is a good solution for that. But yes, going back to video, start playing around with it, work that muscle, and don't get deterred if they don't look good or if you don't think it's right yet, just keep doing it. And I promise you will get better at it.
Angela's
Check out
even
this
pushed
campaign.
us at Entrepreneurs Forever to do some video. She has me recording the voiceover from my radio days and putting visuals with it. And it's working. It's working great.
So ask yourself, what is your special area of expertise? What do your customers community look to you for? That will help you meet your goal. And here are different examples also of different types of experiences you could offer, right? You could do events, local events. You could do videos. You could do a free downloadable PDF about something related to your business. So it could be like a basic worksheet, right? You could do maybe a recipe book. You have to think creatively. What type of content could you create that is valuable, that will connect people to you? Now, one of the best ways to start doing content is to get inspired. And I know that sometimes that is very hard when there's so many steps to this process, but you can start by just really tapping into your creativity, and you could use many, many tools out there. And I'm going to just talk about a few. So the first one is obviously be authentic, right? So what makes you unique? And you can think about it as you, the business owner, as your brand, or as your service. Then you can start with an automatic writing exercise. And I love this exercise. I promise it works, and it feels weird at the beginning. But once you've thought about what makes you unique, put a clock and just do a timer with 3 minutes, and they will feel like forever. But put a 3-minute timer and just start writing. Think about what makes you unique and just start writing whatever comes to your brain. And that's part of the beauty of the exercise. If you start writing and then you think of your dog, you write dog. You just write everything that comes to your brain for 3 minutes. After that, you read it and you will start seeing patterns, or you will start seeing topics that maybe you wouldn't have thought of if you were sitting down just thinking, oh, let me think of topics for social media. So the automatic writing exercise is really, really, really good. Another thing that you can use to get inspired is AI. Go on ChatGPT and ask for ideas. Say, there's really the value in AI is knowing how to set your prompts, or how you're going to set up the AI. So you can even start saying, imagine you are, and detail your persona, and then say, and you're looking for this service, and detail the product or the service you offer. What kind of content would attract you? And maybe AI will give you really good ideas. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it will. Another great tool that I love to build storytelling is to build conceptual maps. A lot of times we don't realize about connections between certain topics, and it can be really, really good. So for example, let's say you own a beauty store, right? And this beauty store has, I don't know, fragrances. And you have this fragrance that has rose, for example. Then you can build a conceptual map of, okay, I have fragrances. These are the different scents from my fragrances. These are the ingredients of the fragrances, right? And then maybe you can tell the story about rose, or maybe about a book that talks about roses, or maybe about the different types of roses that you use and why are they different from other roses. So here you are, a beauty store talking about roses, or giving information about something scientific almost. But you know what? There is a connection to you.
It,
So
it
building
relates to you. Yeah, it's great. I would say that there's a fair number of service-oriented businesses who are, or consultants and things. The thing that I always say in that automatic writing or the brainstorming is, why do people value you? What's the benefit? What do they get out of it? Because if you can extract that piece and figure out how to create content that showcases that value, it will attract the people who you are going to be serving in a higher way and in your best purpose. One of the things that frustrates me is when people say, "Oh, I can sell anything to anyone." It's like, I have a retail store. Whoever walks in, Yeah, well, that's great. You can sell to anybody, but think about where the people who are your biggest fans and evangelists really jump on you. And if you can blow that out in your content, you know, Cindy, pet portraits, right? Am I remembering that right? Like, I know that you must have wonderful stories about, you know, remembering pets who passed away in this portrait and how meaningful it was. And this was the best gift I ever gave anybody. You could do a whole thing about pets and remembering them, and you could become the pet memory lady. I don't know what it is, but take it and really own it.
Okay, thank you.
And then really the last thing is give purpose to each communication channel. Something that can help also is try to structure each channel to the type of content you share. So for example, I don't know, I'm just going to throw out this idea. On your Instagram, you're going to focus on giving tips and behind the scenes of your business, let's just say. And then on your website, on blogs, you're going to write about client stories. Like, it doesn't all have to be the same. You can segment the content. Now we're going to get to the first exercise. So think about what are your ideas of what you can create content about, and put them on your worksheet or write them on a piece of paper.
Should be a writable PDF if we did it right.
Think about also what kind of content you should create or you could create, right? There are infographics, there are videos, demos, show and tell, behind the scenes, there are testimonials, there are trend reports, webinars, case studies, contests, events, games. What else have you seen out there? A lot of also that you can do to get inspiration is look at brands or people you generally like and try to identify what are they doing right? What's resonating with you, and connect with that and try to bring that into your content creation.
Angela, how do you feel about resharing somebody else's content if it's relevant to your audience?
I think it's great. I think as long as you give credit, you can totally do that. In fact, it could be a great strategy because a lot of times if you share content from someone that your audience trusts, you can build top of mind that way, because people who will be looking for that person you just share their content can possibly find you.
James is asking about radio ads.
Radio ads? You could definitely do radio ads. Audio is very interesting right now because we saw radio being really high a few years ago before the internet took over, and then it started going down, and now it's starting to go up again. And it's in some way transforming as well, because audio is it's a very dynamic type of content, because you can add it to a video, you could put it in a podcast, you can put it on YouTube, you can show it on a radio. Radio ads are also really good for hyper local targeting. So when you're looking for a specific to target someone who lives in a specific area, radio is really good. And it's a great way to build top of mind as well, because you know what, you have no control over what you hear on the radio. So it's a good way to build top of mind.
So Mike's wondering podcasts versus radio. My feeling of podcasts is there's so many of them, it's very hard to cut through the clutter. But do you have a different opinion?
No, I would say it depends. Also podcast, you have to be very evergreen. So whatever you record, or if you buy an ad on a podcast, it has to work today or in a few months, because you're not going to know when that podcast is going to be, somebody's going to be listening to it, right? Now with radio, you can be more seasonal. So it's targeted, you know exactly what months the content is going to be launching, so you can be more strategic about it. But podcasts are great for micro audiences as well. I mean, there's endless types of podcasts. There's even like multiple podcasts about ghost stories, for example. So let's say, I don't know, your key audience likes ghosts, right? That would be a great way to target them. So
if you gave ghost tours, right? Yeah. One of the other questions that was in here, and it comes up with this slide, is so let's say you created a video. Can you use it on Instagram and TikTok? Can you use the same piece of content?
You can use the same piece of content. Absolutely. There are benefits though to using, so TikTok and Instagram compete with each other, right? So they tend to favor videos that were edited in their tool. So for example, if you do a video, try to add the text on Instagram and try to add the text on TikTok, or add the music on TikTok or on Instagram. Just try to integrate some of the functionalities of each platform, because the algorithm favors when you use their tool. But yeah, you can definitely repurpose it. And there's also tools to resize video, because there's slight differences between the dimensions. They're very small, but you can, Canva's a good one also, where you can upload one thing and then you can, if you pay for the service, you can adjust it very quickly to different dimensions.
I will say, and I'm sure I'm not the only one having this reaction, this all sounds like a tremendous amount of work. Am I
Yes.
supposed to do this instead of doing my regular business? I'm confused. Can I outsource this? What do I do, Angela?
You can definitely outsource it. You need to think, I think my advice for you is, if you're just starting, you need to really dig deep to find your authenticity. Because even if you outsource it, it's important for it to be authentic. Even though somebody else is doing, it has to reflect you and your brand. Another thing is, I know it can feel daunting, but you don't have to do everything. If video feels too much for you, then do photos. Just start somewhere. If it's doing photos is too much, then start writing. But the importance is to start somewhere. So feel what you feel more comfortable doing, and then just go for it. If it's taking photos, if it's filming, if it's just writing, if it's designing also. If it's reposting, then go for that. Just start somewhere. Which goes to the next topic. So figure out how you're going to get it made, right? And then create plans and a schedule. Now, I would say, going back to my advice before on getting started, you don't have to do a month of content immediately, right? But maybe start small. You know yourself better, right? What is realistic for you and your business? Maybe it's just once a week. Maybe it's once every 10 days, but it's better here, really focus on quality instead of quantity. Eventually, as you build a bigger audience, you can then go into quantity. But right now, focus on what can I create that it's really good. And I promise, even though it might not feel like you're getting immediate results, good content is very valuable. Because right now there's so much out there, and there's so much bad content out there, that when you find something that really strikes you or it's really helpful to you, you remember it and you go back to it.
So
Now,
these platforms, are they all paid, or are there
many of them have
versions?
a free option. Not all of them are paid. Obviously, if you want the full service or all the functionalities, you will have to pay, but there are many free platforms. Usually when you start paying is when they're when you're a bigger tool, like a bigger brand, and you need multiple channels and so on, but probably to start, they're all free.
I know that even like when I was on Facebook, that you can schedule things to go out later. So you don't necessarily need to use an outside scheduling tool. But I mean, have you seen it work where, and maybe one of the entrepreneurs who's on the call can answer this question if it's worked for them. I don't know, maybe Monday between 3 and 5, they spend their time creating the week's worth of social content, and then it's done, they schedule it, and they don't think about it again until next Monday.
Yeah, I mean, we all work differently, right? That could work for some people who really structure their time. It could be, that's less spontaneous, for example. It could be that you just found out that an artist that your persona really likes is launching a new album, and you go on you get on that train and you do something that night that has to do specific with that album. Like, for example, the Taylor Swift and the Big Three, right? It can depend. You can decide what is realistic for you and then start planning that way. There are other tools also. You can Google Content Matrix as well, and they're like Google spreadsheets that you can download for free that can help you even structure your content and have like a skeleton that can guide you to the different types of content.
The one
that you
thing I'll say though is this is like a rabbit hole, and Angela and I meet once a week and she falls down the different rabbit holes. We fall down them together. It's like, oh, a new bright shiny object. Let's go look at this. And I think that what my perspective is as a business coach and the person who manages our programs is if you stay in touch with what it is you're trying to accomplish, who your clients are, what you want them to do, what the call to action is, it's easier to not get distracted by, ooh, there's pictures of kittens. Ooh, here's another new tool that I should try.
Yeah, that's why the first step, which is the one we saw in the deck, is what are you trying to accomplish? And then based on that, then build your plan, right? If what you're trying to accomplish is reaching out more people, getting more followers, or getting more people to an event that you're having, then that is going to dictate what type of content it's worth creating or not. And if it has to be evergreen or seasonal. So, question for you, the audience. What form should your content take? What are some ideas? How will it get produced? Put them in your worksheet. Like, try to brainstorm.
Those are only little questions.
I know, right? Think about which platforms you will use on that schedule. Do you need media management program? To Deborah's point, if you're using only Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, you don't need a media management program. You can start small. Now, if you're doing X, LinkedIn also, and Reddit and blogs, then you might need something more advanced. But if you're just starting, you probably don't need anything. And finally, you need to review, check in on your social media to know what's working. Looking at your data is very important because that's how you start learning about your audience. So to Deborah's point, like, let's say I want to pick a day to do content. Look at when your audience is active. If you go to your account settings, you're going to be able to see statistics, and the tools will tell you when your audience is more present on your channels, and take advantage of that knowledge.
You know, one of the funny things that Angela and I found out, and this was trial and error, is when we send you guys who are on our Entrepreneurs Forever list emails telling you about events in our newsletter, we have found that the most successful sends and opens are on Saturday, which is completely counterintuitive. It's like, you're not working on Saturday, but honestly, Saturday is when our small business owners have time to bother to read their emails. And so now we send you emails on Saturday, which would never have been my instinct. The thing that worries me a little bit about this social media thing is it feels like I can spend a ton of time working on something and it goes up on a feed and then it's gone. And then the people who I wanted to see it didn't see it because it's so much further down in their feed, and that that I put a lot of effort into something that's not being seen. How can you get over that issue?
So you need to think that digital content it might not be visible at the beginning, but you can always find it. So top of mind is very critical there. Also, when you repurpose content, let's say you do a strategy of, I don't know, let's follow the example of the rose, right? You're going to be talking about different roses and why you use these type of roses for your fragrances. You can do a behind the scenes video where you show the roses, and then you can work on a blog post about it also and just put it online. There's different ways. The same content now lives on Instagram and lives on the web. And even though it might not be visible on your feed, people who are trying to find or who are into roses and the algorithm will show your content, they will find you some way. So I think do not get deterred by the immediacy and the ephemeral way that content exists nowadays, that it feels very I guess the word would be like just like I can think of the word in Spanish, but I lost the word in English. But like it constantly gets like in Spanish is desechable, you know, like you create something and then you have to remove it and so on. Do not think that your content will go to the trash, let's say, because it's not visible anyway. It will live on your feed and that will build positioning.
We have a whole bunch of really good questions here, so
Oh, okay, let's do
no,
it.
let's finish up the deck and then I'm gonna open
Oh,
it.
yeah, we're up to the
open it up.
summary, so summary of content creation. First, right? What is your goal? Topic and subject matter, types of content, what channels, media do you want to use, and how will you plan and execute on it? Really, if you go through these basic things, you will have a good guide or a compass, right? Because it's not like it's a set in stone guide, but it can guide you to get better at content creation. Okay.
I think we can stop sharing and let's actually, those of you who were just typing some questions in about newsletters and reels, who wants to ask their own question to Angela? Let's do it live. Carrie, go ahead. Just unmute yourself.
Hey, Angela, thank you for such a wonderful
Carrie.
program. So dig in a little bit for us, because we got the overview. We're business owners, but tell us how, like, what's better, reels or stories? How do we create those videos? What's the first step? So we leave this session in 15 minutes. What do we do? Like, I have no idea where to go to make those videos, or what, I mean, I wrote down the list. Do I just Google them? How do you use them? Which one is right for us? Like, fill me in.
I know there's a lot.
Thanks for your honesty, Carrie.
Yeah.
Okay, Carrie. The first answer to your question is it depends.
Okay.
It depends on your audience always, and it depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay.
So I would say that you leave this call, and the first thing you need to do is within the next month, what am I trying to accomplish? Do you have a product? What type of business do you have?
It's retail. So I sell parrot cages.
Parrot cages?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So think about what you're trying to accomplish right now. So let's say you have this very specific parrot cage that it hasn't been moving too much, let's say, and you want to give it more visibility, right?
Great.
So think about that and write it down. Like, I want to
Done.
move
Already did
more
it.
or make visible parrot cage 1, for
Yep,
example.
got it.
And then you start with the exercise because you need to get inspiration, right?
Already did it.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So you can start doing the automatic
Yep,
writing.
done. What do I
Okay.
do? Where do I
Okay.
go? Like, I did all the paperwork thinking, what do I want? Who's my customer? Let's name them.
Okay.
I did all that. What do I do? Where do I go to create this video?
Oh, so you want to, okay. So where do you go? Do you have a cell phone?
Yeah.
Okay. So that can be your first tool. It could be your cell phone. Now, when you want to do video, a good tool is to, I don't know if you're familiar with the hero's journey.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I read
one
Will
thing,
Smith's book. I know all about it.
okay, perfect. So you can use that as a guide also on how to, if you Google hero's journey video, you're going to get like a structure of how you can stage the video so that it's interesting.
I'll
So,
include that in the note, in the follow-up notes for everyone.
okay, perfect. And I'll also share another link of how to structure a video story.
Yes,
as well.
that would be perfect. Like, send me, because if I just Google something, I'm right with Deborah. Like, I'm looking at kittens. Where do I go? Like,
Okay.
what is my very next step from here? So, like, I'm gonna make this hero's journey video. Where? How?
They're like
What am
different
I
stages.
doing?
I have the perfect link for you, and I will share with everyone. I don't have the link with me now, but I'll share with you. So what I'm going to share with you is a link that literally tells you how to structure the video.
Yeah.
So
how do we
now,
get the fingers in the camping video? How do you do that? Where does that
oh,
even
the fingers,
come
the editing, you mean also?
Like, how do we do this? That's what I'm
So-
looking for. Like, how do we create this content?
Or should she? Should she take her time to do it or hire somebody else?
Yeah, like what?
Yeah, if it's
You
too
know,
listen, all the
just
tools,
give me
there's multiple tools that you can use already on Instagram or on TikTok, like when they're embedded in there. Now it depends on what you want your video to look like. So if you want buttons and hands that are moving, then you're gonna need something more advanced. But you don't need to start
What
so
would I
so
need?
advanced.
Fill that question in for me.
A
What
video
would I
editing
need?
software, really. There are
What is
apps.
the name of it? Where do I find it?
there
Like
could
I
be like,
need the thing. You know what I mean?
you know what you can start? There's this
Yeah.
tool called Adobe Express. Now you're not gonna find hands there or like very advanced editing there, but you can start there. And you can add, click and drag different elements. There's also multiple apps. There's like, I think one is called Cut and Pro also that you
Cut
could
and
use.
Pro, like CUT and PRO.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm giving you the right name.
Okay.
There's also other people are giving you hints in the chat as well.
Oh,
Okay.
good, yeah. Honestly, Carrie, there's like CapCut. Yeah, that one's a good one. There's so many.
Carrie, do you have parrots or do you just sell parrot cages?
Both. I have parrots.
Okay, why? Well, wouldn't I would be attracted to a parrot? I used to have parrots, so any
Mhm.
videos that I saw about parrots, why don't you just go raw?
Oh,
Get
I have a
creative
million
in
of
your
them.
head and say like, hey,
Right.
here's Mr. Parrot. Make a parrot feature. This is Mr. Bob, and make Mr. What's the adventures of Mr. Bob today? And that would
Yeah.
lead you into that. You're overthinking this. I feel like you are just really like, how do I have to do this the exact right way? There is no exact right way. It's like whatever feels good to you and whatever you're gonna do. Because if you start overthinking this so much, you're not gonna do it. It's gonna be like, oh, there's 34 steps to make a video. It's too much for me. We just bought a gimbal and I have my son follow me around. Ooh, check me out. I'm in my throne. It's pink and I am Barbie today.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
I
I've
do
done
event
the raw
rentals.
parrot videos, but
Yeah.
they don't attract the correct customer because they
Okay.
typically attract people that are looking to buy a bird because they're looking for cute bird videos. I need to make it more specific and add the features to push to the cage. Because these are just people who are like, oh my God, I want one. I want a blue one. I want a white one. I want one that talks. That's like, I need to push it
So
from
you
like,
need more
look at the bird to
educational.
like, look at the cage the bird is in. How can they
Is it the
do
right
this? Because
size?
they're in this size enclosure and this is what we're looking for. And if you want to buy a bird, this is what we need to do. But I need to know how to do that. How do I add the text? How do I add the content? How do I push that? Because the raw videos aren't quite there for me. So that's why I'm
Okay.
looking for how do I create this content? How do I make that video where the campground isn't just like scrolling around, but they're like, hey, this is a tree you can put your hammock on, or you know what I mean? Like I need the extra. I need to be able
You
to.
have a kid or a husband or a spouse or a friend that's close that can video you saying like, here's the bird in an itty bitty cage. This is inappropriate and here's why.
Someone
That's what
has
I'm saying. Like
says
I need to know
hire
how to
someone on
cut it.
Fiverr.
Yeah,
Like how
Fiverr,
do you cut
Fiverr.
those scenes and how do you put them together? And when the guy was composting, like how do you go into mini fast forward mode while he's loading the truck? Like
It's
that's
all
the
on your
stuff I need to
camera.
know.
You got to get
How do
familiar
I
with
do
your
that?
phone camera. You got to get familiar with whatever phone you're on because I just switched. I was on a note and I used to do stuff with my pen and drop and drag and now the pen's gone in the note and it's
Right.
very hard to use the finger, but they have portrait mode, blur the background mode. You've
Mhm.
got to learn about cameras if you want to do that kind of stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like where do
Canva's
I
a great
go? How do I do
resource.
what
Canva,
content
you can
is
create it
good?
yourself. I mean, or you
Yeah.
could just go to Fiverr and say, hey, I want to create an educational video.
Go to
And
where?
I
Fiverr?
can't Fiverr, Fiverr.
What is
Yeah.
that?
It's a
It's a place where you hire freelancers
hire
to do little
people.
tasks for you.
Oh, okay.
Carrie, oh, another thing you can do is also you can ask AI. Just go to
Oh, yep.
ChatGPT and say, what are the steps
Go
for
to
me to
where?
create
Chat?
AI, ChatGPT.
ChatGPT sometimes can answer some amazing questions. I'm going to do one thing, which is I'm going to stop the recording because I love this conversation, but we don't necessarily want to record it for posterity, but we can keep talking. And
Yeah, so I would say to you, Carrie, look at AI. There's a lot of tools out there, but